So first of all, just SEER's Social Environmental Ethical Responsibility, and it's a program and a certificate we have here at Pepperdine, and it's also very much integrated with the entrepreneurial track and certificate and concentration. And I think it's one of the very few of its kind in the country where the entrepreneurial side of things and the social and environmental side of things are combined to make great businesses.
You know, the interesting thing about it is there's a lot of social entrepreneurship programs out that talk about sort of social mission and entrepreneurship, but the unique feature of this is that ours is not an either-or program, it's an and. So they work so well together. It's a strategy, it's a way of thinking about business, and then it's a vehicle for implementing it. So SEER entrepreneurship, I think, is distinct from social entrepreneurship, which you see in other programs, and I think it's very unique to Pepperdine.
And the other kind of unique aspect or differentiator would be that we don't really subscribe to just, it should be all environmental or all about CSR. We're very much a business school where you have to have a great business. That means you have to have a product or service that wins in the marketplace. And a product or service that wins in the marketplace and then has integration into its value chain of the social and environmental side of things, we believe will have a long-term competitive advantage. And to do that, you have to have creativity and innovation.
Absolutely.
Because it hasn't been done before. Very often. The companies that you're going to see today, that's what they do. All of them have some sort of catalytic mechanism built into their business plans and their framework, which is different than anybody else, which allows them to outcompete in the marketplace and live by their values. And also, those values help them reduce customer acquisition costs because many people come to their brands because they love what they do, they love who they are, and they love all aspects of their brand, not just the product or service.
Absolutely. And then with the entrepreneurship, with that, the point of that is that entrepreneurship is about creativity. It's about coming up with new ideas. It's about finding a problem that's worth solving and developing a creative solution around it. So combine that with the perspective of SEER, and I think you really have something very powerful. So that's great.
The SEER model is a framework and process to be employed for strategic organizational decisions that are foundational to company culture. This model refers to the process of making strategic decisions with a systems approach using the relevant macro values of society today that will help build the values-led companies of tomorrow: corporate citizenship, environmental stewardship, product and service quality, and financial strength. These macro values do not operate in isolation. Rather, they function as a system and feature many areas of overlap and intersection. This SEER process is proven to accelerate the great brands of today and the future.
So it all started, when you think, okay, is this a new way of thinking? Peter Drucker, the management guru of our time, 2003, 10 years ago, talked about the importance of businesses as not only economic activity any more than for schools it was just strictly the curriculum. And so he's very much a visionary. He's the father of management, and he was talking about that 10 years ago. It all started with Friedman, and that's kind of the base we worked off, is that, okay, companies have to make a profit. That's where it's at. And it's a model that's a bit dated. It needed to be updated because in today's, there will be no one in any business that can say that the corporate social responsibility side of things or the environmental side of things isn't paramount for sustained competitive advantage. You just can't do it anymore. Whether it's supply chain, sweatshop labor, whether it's how you treat your paper, whether it's turnover, customer acquisition. The most expensive part of any business is customer acquisition. If you can get people bought into your brand from the very beginning that are buying into the values and the product or service, you win. And they stay with you. And those advocates are very, very valuable for brands. We all know that. You look at the Graziadio school, as I mentioned earlier, it's a school that is based on not only shareholder value. It's a school that has social values with profitable operations. This is the base, this is the foundation of that school, to develop value-centered leaders who are entrepreneurial in spirit, ethical in focus, and global in orientation, and to positively impact society and organizations and communities in which our students and graduates go to. That's what the base of this program. And if you think about values, because that's what this is all about, values, from the early research shows that the values are the underlying driver of organizational culture. Every one of the companies that you will hear from today, their values drive their culture, which informs their strategic decisions. You will see that. They play a prominent role in management, but now they're starting to be really a part of the brand essence. With social media today, with everything that's going on with technology, you have to be transparent. And again, if you're not transparent, the only way you can say what you are is if you say what you aren't. And if you don't do that, you're going to be eaten up. So that's the SEER model. Just broke down just a little bit. The environmental part of it isn't just, okay, I want to save these bunnies today. The environmental part of it is systemic. It's in every part of the operation. It talks about, it informs your supply chain. It informs how much you fly around, informs how close your factories are together. If you cut waste, you cut cost. If you cut cost, you increase your margin. The environmental side of it is taking into account that this is a rising tide. Resources are getting more and more precious. They're going to get more expensive. If you want a long-term competitive advantage, you have to think about the environment from a systemic point of view in your organization. Corporate social responsibility, stakeholders, your communities, how you treat your communities, how you treat your supply chain all the way back. At Patagonia, we went from off the fortune chart to the 15th best company on the planet to work with. And when we did that, our applications went for every job from 200 all the way up to 900 or 1,000. We were able to get better people. We have less turnover. We had higher productivity and higher engagement. Product and service quality. Make no mistake, you have to have a great product or service to win. Period. If you lead with the environmental aspect and it's a subpar product, you are out of business. So you have to have a great product or service. What makes it a superior product or service is if it's a great product or service that wins in the rivalry box against your competitors and it has social and environmental ethics embedded in it. That's how you win. That's how you get a long-term competitive advantage. These things are overlapping and they inform multiple values. So as I said, quality of product, it's the best product with environmental and social part of it into it. Environmental side of it, oftentimes innovations will reduce waste, which lead to a higher ROI. So 3 pillars. The first, long-term perspective. This process, this framework subscribes that when you make decisions, you do it on a longer-term basis. That doesn't mean you can't make your quarterly numbers. It only means that you take into account what's happening on the long term for your business. Second, you can't just ignore one of the forces, one of the values. You can't just decide you're not going to worry about CSR. And it's going to come back and bite you over time. And third, Larry, you want to take that? Entrepreneurial?
Absolutely. It does require entrepreneurial thinking, and entrepreneurial thinking involves creativity. And if I might put in a commercial plug here, our entrepreneurship concentration is now SEER certified, and so you will be able to, in this program, take both and do both at the same time. So you're combining the SEER and the entrepreneurial thinking into one thing. We think that's a very powerful model.
And it's critical because you have to, as you'll see from these companies, you have to be very creative in how you put these value chains together and how you have your secret sauce of your organization. Okay, and so ultimately what happens is you have this SEER model, which is the individual. We all have a pluralism of values, each one of them, and they're different. And this is the organizational pluralism of values. Every organization has, they don't have to be exactly the same, but they have to coexist. And if you get that congruence, you get huge satisfaction, my research shows. And when you get that satisfaction, as satisfaction grows in an organization, you get higher productivity and higher engagement. Reduced turnover by 87% with highly engaged companies. Operating income goes down. And you move people around the customer lifecycle curve faster because you're messaging them and you're moving them from first seeing your brand initially to the first time that they purchase or become a part of your brand, and you move them around. This is all about messaging and values. The deeper they go, the more engaged they are. So that's the overview. Any thoughts, Larry?
Just amen. And I don't know if the choir comes in right now, but it sounds good.